the last few weeks, I feel like every week we're getting less and less ready for this.
I know. A couple of months ago, we were like half an hour before the call.
Yeah, but I think it's the period. We're like just off the summer. It's like the kids, the school, all of that.
So first pod of September.
Yeah, first of September, we did another 2,000 downloads in August. So we're flat July to August, but considering we haven't at all been, I was texting you that like we haven't been aggressive at all in like pushing in August.
No.
So it's probably a mix of people who stayed, new people who came, but all in all, we stayed at 2,000 a month, which is for 3 months in a brand new podcast. I think is great. So that's fine.
Yeah, I'm happy.
We should just look to now try and accelerate again September, October, like going into Christmas.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's great. And I was thinking about something, whether we do it now or later, for a lot of people listening, they don't really know who we are, and we never really introduce ourselves or say our names or what we do, or maybe we should do that. Not every time, but like every once in a while.
For the people that didn't bother going back to the first episode.
Yeah. Because, no, some people may randomly stumbling upon it, and like people in, I don't know, Guatemala and Singapore. And
yeah, okay.
So
that sounds good.
Should we do that briefly?
Yeah, let's do it.
You start.
So I'm Jake. I've been in growth and marketing for just over a decade, from agency side and client side, work in-house, running paid media or head of paid media at Net-a-Porter, and lots of other little startups. I say Net-a-Porter because no one's really heard of the other startups because some of them successful, some of them failed. That's the nature of startups. Worked at a few companies that have they've been acquired and that have sold and done really good stuff. Most recently, I work for an agency called Hex, and we build products for founders and then we grow them. And I also do some light consulting work and mentoring as well.
Nice, good one. And I'm Johan. I'm a French guy who moved to London 12 years ago. Similar to Jake, I've been in marketing and growth for about 10 years. I'm a CMO at a fintech app in the UK called Nude. That helps first-time home buyers save for their deposits, and I've been there for 2 years. And prior to that, I was in early growth teams at apps like Deliveroo and Depop, which both exited in 2021. One IPO'd and one got acquired by Etsy, which was a good year. And and Jake and I used to work together when we kind of started in the Facebook ads agency, and that's how we met, and we stayed in touch, and we became friends, and we got married, got kids.
Not to each other.
That sounded weird. And yeah, we started this podcast 3 months ago. So for anyone who didn't know us, this is just a little intro. You can check our LinkedIn as well, and you'll see all of that good stuff. But that's us. Two growth marketers talking about growth marketing stuff. Can you tell us a bit about what's gonna come up in this episode?
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking to Andrew Holland, and he is director of SEO for his own agency, I believe, but we can get into that. He's been in SEO for a long time. He's got a really interesting backstory, actually, similar to lots of people I have on this podcast who didn't necessarily decide to go straight into a marketing field. So we chat to him about that. And also being a kind of big brain SEO, he's got in the region of 45,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's pretty highly regarded. He's got a couple of books published on the matter. And we want to dig into SEO for startups with a focus on kind of growth through SEO. I'm really interested in understanding if the kind of traditional SEO practices are still a requirement these days with the way that Google is moving and the way that it is able to just understand
Yeah.
a website and what happens on that website without you needing to kind of shoehorn SEO into it. So yeah, a bit of a deep dive into SEO. I think I speak for Yo as well when I say that SEO is probably the weakest tool in my marketer's arsenal. So hopefully it will be a nice learning experience for us, and hopefully don't make ourselves look too stupid.
I hope it does. I agree. I'm the same. I hope I feel a bit stupid in this episode. I hope I learn a few things. SEO is definitely the weakest channel for me. I'm always very curious about it because you always hear these like case studies of companies all the time that manage to crack SEO in some shape or form, and like that's their main channel. But I feel like for 99% of startups or companies in general, SEO is not the channel.
Yeah.
But there's these like outliers of companies who like did very, very well with it. So it'd be good to like dig into the channel and like the recent trends and what's doable for, I guess, for startups, if it's something to do when you're a young company, because I always think that, if SEO is going to take 12 months to realize and your runway is 6 months, you probably shouldn't do SEO. But maybe there's some things that we don't know that you could do.
Yeah.
And it'd be good to talk about that. I've got like a very sad story about SEO when I was at Depop, actually. Because I think to this day, I still think there's a few things that we could have done that we were not focusing on, and one of these things, probably the biggest opportunity, was SEO. I think when you're in a business where you get UGC, meaning UGC content, meaning like the more users you get, the more you generate pages online from those users. So a marketplace, for example, is typically one of these type of businesses.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time when I joined, I was really focused on paid acquisition, and that we did very well. But I worked with an external SEO freelance guy that I think was not supposed to do some side hustles on the side, but we paid him to like put this report for Depop, and I had this like thing that I printed that was like 50-page long on everything that Depop needs to do to like smash it on SEO, and it had everything, all the projections, all the graph, all the data. Like you couldn't argue against it. It was like this. That was I called it the Bible, the SEO Bible. And I took this and I read it like a few times front to back to understand everything. And I was like, this is genius. So glad we did it. But we never did anything with it. Never managed to get sign off. Never get to get like any dev support to like do any work on the website. And I think to this day, I think Depop could have probably been, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 times bigger than what it is if we did this in 2018. Can you imagine? It's like almost 6 years ago now.
And they still haven't implemented that, or from what you can see?
I think they improved some bits, but I think once you sell, now they sold to Etsy, there's a timing to these things, and I think SEO probably there's an art to when you start it. Now, not too early, but not too late. I feel like maybe they probably did some things, but it was too little, too late.
Interesting.
It would have been very exciting to see how much the web part of Depop could have been accelerated by fully indexing those pages. We had like 5 million, 4 or 5 million users by the time I was like 6 months in or something. So that was a huge potential.
Yeah. Kind of similar story at Bump, actually, which was a streetwear marketplace, and we were app only, and there was a website that was just a holding page which directed you to the app. And again, we had lots of listings and historic, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of historic listings as well. And so I was like, look, let's just open them up and just get them on the web and have people finding them. And we did that, and it was obviously, there's work involved. It wasn't as easy as just press a button and it happens. We had to make the web experience and all that kind of stuff. But we launched it, you couldn't purchase on web, so you could browse products and you could find things organically that came up, and if it was out of stock, it directed you to something similar. So we indexed all of the out of stock stuff as well. And if you wanted to buy it, just said download the app, and it had like a branch link that took you to the product. And when we kicked that off, it went crazy. It was like app was still the biggest channel for revenue driving, but it went to like I was going to say the second biggest channel, but there's literally only app and web. But it was not far behind app overnight in terms of revenue that was driving, which was crazy. So it's they worked really well for us, and we were much smaller compared to Depop. So it would have been interesting to see how you guys could have taken it.
Yeah, Depop was there was a huge potential channel because the users were already there. There was like a massive amount of inventory to index, users and inventory, and we were not even indexing all of them, like just a fraction of them, and they didn't have even a call to action. It was not even like, it was not optimized, not scrollable by Google. You couldn't install the app. There was no branch link or any like tracking link. It was like the bare bones of like. And I was looking at this thing that I got from this guy. He's at List. I won't say his name, but he's a senior guy at List. For those who do some research, you might find who he is. But we're still in touch. We're in good relationship. I was so frustrated by it. So I focused on other stuff, but I was like, this is like this should be our main focus, because it's it would have made Depop something different in 2021 when they sold. Then the numbers would have been different. Like it would have been like a complete different beast. It's hard. If the business is not SEO friendly, you say it differently, but like if the founders don't really understand it, if they're very, it's a thing against long-termism. If everything is short-term in your decision tree, within your C-suite, or like anyone who's like making big decision in the business, then you're never going to do SEO, because you only focus on like, can I put a pound in, and can I get £2 out like tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
Not in 12 months. So
it's very difficult to make the case for that. And if you're talking about SEO, which is like generation of content, and that takes a lot of resource time, and even if you do use AI, we use some AI now, Hex, to generate content, but you still have to go through it, and you have to humanize it, and you have to tweak it, and you have to make it fit in your confines of your design, all that kind of stuff. And then, to say you could be spending that time running some experiment which could potentially improve your conversion rate by 0.5% in the next 3 months, versus you might get some traffic from this article in like 6 to 9 months time, and that's after you put further work in optimizing it on a monthly basis or whatever, then it has always been difficult to make that case. And I think that's probably why for both of us it's never been something that you can. I've been excited multiple times and been like, oh yeah, this is going to be the one where I go hard on like a really strong SEO strategy, but it always ends up getting deprioritized. And even more so now, right? It's been a common thing that we've spoken about in a few podcasts previously, which is that kind of money drying up and getting less cash. There's less kind of liquidity coming from investors, so therefore you need to switch focus to things that are going to have immediate impact. And I read a tweet from Cody from the podcast, Cody Schneider, the other day, and he was like, even he said like he's got a whole business based on the back of writing AI content for SEO, but he was like, look, for a startup, you need to focus on transactional marketing, which is I put in this, I get this out, rather than something that's going to take a long time. Be interesting to see what Andrew thinks of that.
I hope he turns up. Otherwise, it's going to be two guys who kind of understand SEO. So what do you think of it? What do I think of it? I haven't listened to Lenny's podcast for a while, but did 2 days ago, because the company was intriguing and what they've done, and it was with the head of growth from Deal, which is a HR software, helps you manage remote workers in the like global teams, like contracts and everything. and they grew super, super fast, like 300 million ARR in 3 years, like something insane. It's like one of the fastest or the fastest growth in B2B SaaS, since forever. Like, so super, super success story.
That's cool.
And the main thing that she spoke about was SEO. She said like it used to be 70-80% of their growth, and now it's more like 50%, but they've got 7-8 people team. They used to, at least like at the peak, they said that they were writing 10 articles a week, updating old ones, and like the SEO was like a big part of their growth. And I think what's interesting is what we just said before, and this is that I see in my head, like, to simplify things, I see companies in like 3 buckets. You've got the bucket we mentioned before, which is you've got a business model that creates UGC content. So whether it's a social platform, a reviews platform like Yelp or whatever, or a marketplace where, you know, each profile is a page, and each pieces of clothing could be a page. And so that's one. Then you've got another category of businesses with people have, there's a lot of search intent and search happening to get to your answer. So, for example, HR, contract, how to set up things for whatever it is. But in the case of Deal, you can see that there is like a whole section of like the internet of short term and long term, and short term. Sorry, keywords that you can target on a company wanting to set up their remote teams contractually and all that stuff. That's probably like the second best. The first best is the UGC. Second best is that. And then the third category is like you've got you selling socks, and like you're not going to do SEO. Like it's like that's the bucket. You probably don't prioritize SEO because you're going to do influencers and TikTok, you know.
Yeah.
That's the way I kind of bucket whether you should do SEO or not, depending on your business.
Hello.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, sorry about that.
Hi,
It's
Andy.
a bit of a drama, that was.
That's all right. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to finishing work soon because it's been a long week already.
Yes, I know. It's got that. Someone asked me earlier if I had that Friday feeling, and I was like, well, not until about 5 o'clock. I'm not going to feel that. Well, thank you for joining us today. We just did a bit of a kind of intro before you joined, and we're going to put our hands up and say that we are not SEO experts, and we're not going to pretend to be. So we're putting that out there on the table.
Me neither, don't worry.
We were saying that it's probably the same with a lot of kind of generalist marketers, really, that SEO seems to be the kind of weak spot in a lot of people's like arsenal, because we were saying before that it's quite difficult sometimes to make the case when you're, say, at a startup or in a business, that to focus on a channel that has kind of the lead time that SEO seems to have. And so anyway, we're going to use this as hopefully a learning experience. And I think lots of our guests, lots of our listeners will hopefully get a lot from this as well. But we've got some interesting topics to talk about. Maybe you want to start, Andy, just give us a kind of bit of a potted background.
Yeah, so I'm Andy Holland. I'm the director of SEO at a digital PR and SEO agency called JBH. And I've been involved in SEO for probably about 20 years now, give or take.
A long time.
It does feel like that to actually.
Something that I want to jump in with as a question is that if we think back to when I first started out in marketing, or even before that, I was always interested in like web development and kind of the SEO principles that come with that. And back then it was all kind of keyword stuffing and, you know, white text on a white background, all that kind of black hat stuff. And then now it's kind of Google and the various systems now have developed so much so that it seems to me that if you don't necessarily have comprehensive strategy, but you're just putting out something that is relevant for your business and what you're doing, that's kind of half of the job. Is that fair to say, or do you think there is still a big focus on those principles?
Do you know what? I think SEO right now is the most lost industry and sector in marketing, and there's two reasons for that. Is one, because we've got AI has just swept in and just radically changed everything, and And there's a lot of businesses that are deers caught in headlights. That's one problem. The second problem is marketing effectiveness is becoming a much greater subject. And generally so because we've entered a time of economic uncertainty. We've high inflation, high interest rates. A lot of marketing agencies have had to or have gone bust because of their model of how they do things, and it is causing people to make decisions. And I also generally I do think the standard of marketer out there is pretty low. Generally, I mean, your podcast listeners are probably going to hate me for saying that, but I think you've got a lot of people who don't understand how marketing works, have never studied how marketing works, and as a result are making decisions generally led by a business when and I understand that, but ultimately it's people don't understand ROI, they don't understand sales, they don't understand mental availability, they don't understand all these things that make marketing effective, and as a result, we end up with shiny object syndrome, and SEO has always struggled to get budget. It's struggling probably more now than ever, and even how we do SEO is changing. And even I see online, when I see people, I see case studies of massive SaaS traffic success, huge traffic, and I look at that and think to myself, well, where's the relevance to a business there? You just literally, everyone who runs an affiliate site would be awesomely interested in that, but a brand, less so. And so the SEO is completely lost, and it's going to take a while for us to come out of that, I think.
Interesting. What do you think personally that the kind of way out of that is, and is it just less of a focus on, like you said, shiny object syndrome? And even, I'm falling into the trap myself of testing technology that sounds too good to be true. It's going to generate you all of this amazing SEO content that's going to get you 10 million visitors overnight, or whatever it is that they say. And I guess to some extent that can be true. But what, in your opinion, do you think SEO needs to do to find its way out of this kind of dark spot?
One, it needs leadership, and I think that's the problem. There's a terrible thing in the SEO where SEOs just love traffic. They love traffic, they love rankings, and I get that, but I'm a big thing. It has to be meaningful traffic, and traffic for a publisher is, they love it. You're making money from display ads, and there's no issues around that. Traffic for brand is very, very different, and the other thing is, I think SEO needs to conform to a single measure of marketing effectiveness, which we don't currently have. And I think that is a massive problem because, if you've ever been on an SEO reporting call, they're absolutely horrible. I mean, they always are. I mean, you put a spreadsheet out in front of a business owner and there's ups, there's downs, there's crossroads, there's nobody understands what's going on. And then every call, it's never all up, it's never all down, and an algorithm come out and destroy you, and then obviously then you can be back up, and it's really it's going to take strong leadership to somebody to come out from the powers that be to say, okay, this is what we need to look at. This is where we all need to be going around. And I think that's coming. I can see that in the marketplace. But marketing, it was the Pepsi CMO who said that we should be able to have a single measurement of effectiveness would make marketing full stop legitimate. And I get that. And SEO should be part of that metric, as should everything else, and then that makes a difference for everyone. At the moment, SEO is just it's the metrics all over the place. Everyone's reporting on different things. Last click is still I know it's changing for PPC campaigns, but it'll go back to last click, I'm sure, because it showcases the best reward. I think September it goes back to last click, and then so you end up with this situation where we're back where we started. So I think we need leadership in a nutshell. So yeah.
On the subject of metrics, and I know every client is different, but so you had a startup client that just wanted to get their foot in the door with SEO, but they were, where do they focus? Not necessarily on the techniques and tactics, but what is the one metric you think that you would advise just focusing on to know if you're doing a good job?
I think the metric it depends on whether you're a publisher or brand or anything like that, to be perfectly honest with you, and that is the truth. My background isn't actually completely in in SEO. It comes from a broader background of marketing, and I went to SEO. One, was more profitable than ramming out Facebook videos at the time. But the truth is that marketing has a science behind it, and the science is, if you want a brand to grow, you need to increase your level of sales. But sales only come by increased mental and increased physical availability. So your mental availability and your physical availability are the things that you need to work on. And how you measure that is different, but mostly I think share of search is a good measurement. But it depends on the business model you are. A local plumber is very different than a SaaS startup and things like that. So, and there are some inferences that you can draw from that in terms of which kind of measurements make it better for you. But essentially, you've got to be easy to mind and easy to find. And so many businesses don't even try and do that. They try and hack it somehow. And I've worked on SEO campaigns where there's no marketing. So literally, you expected it's a real business. It's been around for 20 years, and they don't do any marketing. And the marketing they do is just literally sending out calendars to existing clients, and then they wonder why their SEO is struggling. And when you ask for, link building money, you literally, they look at you like you've gone off your head, and surely you don't need that. And because that's the situation we're in, I think, in terms of people don't get what it is and what it's about. But for me, it's all about being easy to mind and easy to find. And if we can make that like almost like the thing that we all agree on, then I don't think anyone's going to struggle. And then the question next is, okay, well, how do we become easy to mind and easy to find? Well, okay, well, we do brand marketing, and then we do SEO to capture the effects of that brand marketing. It isn't rocket science. It's just that everyone tries to avoid it.
Yeah, it's really nice. When you were saying easy to find, I was going to follow up with, does that mean that you strongly believe in branding and SEO being like a two-punch solution?
Massively. So let's play an imaginary game. Business comes to me, brand new local business, florist, for example. And what I would say with the florist is I'd turn around and say, okay, well, how are you going to market yourself? Well, you need to tell people that you exist. How are you going to tell people you exist? You push out your adverts, you push out your how should I put it? You push out your Facebook videos, you push out your brand marketing, you push out your you create a nice little video that shows your shop, and you put it out there, and you smash it out there, and you put it out to the local area so everyone knows it. You do your flyers, you do all the kind of stuff. You set up a YouTube channel that shows you doing your flower arrange, and you do some lives on Facebook. You do some, you put out some Instagram, some TikToks, and all that kind of stuff. And you do all that kind of stuff, and you share it on your socials. You get your friends to share it. You create that mental availability, and the problem is we've got obsessed with ROI. And so in essence, you've got the SEO because you want to be ranked for local forests if you're a local forest, clearly, but that's not rocket science either. And you do the hard work of networking, and you ask people for links, and you go and build a few links. But we've got obsessed with this short-term value of ROI. And if you go after ROI, you will always reduce reach, because you will go after the smallest amount of people that you can convert. And then you'll say, oh yeah, we've got 100% ROI. So it's a case you've got to do the things that don't scale necessarily, but businesses have got really stingy and said, we want ROI. What's ROI? In actual fact, it's about profit of the business, not ROI of the marketing department. And that's where marketing costs what it costs. The business should profit as a result. But unfortunately, we've gone after channel ROI, which ultimately reduces reach and inefficient marketing. It causes inefficient marketing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely something that I've felt, and it's so it's come up on the podcast in the past, is that the availability of kind of VC money these days is drying up, and it's much more difficult to raise money, and therefore it just ends up narrowing the focus on what is the channel that we can put one in and get two out of. And that's becoming, and then more people focusing on doing that, those channels that it was easy to do that a few years ago are becoming even more difficult to. So in a few years time, it's going to be like, I don't want to spend any money on marketing because I can't afford to. So it's really interesting to hear that. Something that I going to admit, I hadn't necessarily heard this term before, but until I started following you on LinkedIn, was kind of digital PR. For people out there like me that hadn't necessarily thought about that, How do you explain that? Is it just kind of a modern way of traditional kind of link building?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if we break down link building, 90% of link building right now is paid for out there. So if you go and hire an SEO agency, and I'm particularly happy to describe this, what they'll do is they'll go and buy links from a link supplying company, and all that is a guest post on some website that generates traffic of some degree, and you'll have your anchor text in that new post along with 5 other businesses, or maybe you'll get an old post. Doesn't give any value other than a link, and Google figures it out anyway and takes away the benefit if there was any benefit. Digital PR is different. So if we take PR, publicity, public relations is about improving the relationship a business has with the public, and digital PR is no different. But with the focus that what we want to do is do that and also achieve some kind of backlink or media mention, because right now it's all about semantic search, and Google wants to figure out what a business is, what their expertise is, what their authority is, should we trust them? And there's nothing better than being referenced in the media, because the media are gatekeepers. They're going after stories. They decide on, I mean, I know it can be scammed a little bit these days, but they're going after stories. They're going after people they can reference. They want to create interesting stories to help people make sense of the world and also get clicks and ad revenue and all that kind of stuff. But so digital PR really, yes, the primary purpose is to gain links. Clearly, that's one of the core benefits. But 2, it's about getting your business out there in front of consumers. Now, some of that might be according to the experts ads, or it might be that you create a big data piece, which primarily feeds back into the Google algorithm and establishes your EAT, expertise, experience, authority, trustworthiness. But also some of that will end up with referral traffic. Some of that will introduce your business to people that didn't know who you were. And some of that will actually put your business front and center on the news. And it's trying to do that for both. You can go more brand PR if a brand wants that. You can go more digital PR link building if they want that, and that's the flexibility of digital PR. You can go brand, you can go SEO performance, and it's a really interesting sphere that sadly a lot have binned off, because like anything, when it became popular, people just didn't do it very well, and we've seen agencies can their digital PR departments. And 2, it is expensive, but it's far better than spending 500 quid to £1,000 a month on 3 links that don't do anything. When you've got that potential. And there's nothing beats real engagement. You a reporter needs some help, and you get in there and you've got there. And the other thing is, businesses can use that as promotional material as well. I've never seen a business yet put on their socials, great, we've just got featured in this mother's blog as one of the best, one of the best, this, that, and the other. They don't do that. They say, oh, yeah, great to be featured in this, they share the article, great to be featured in the Daily Mirror or the Telegraph or something like that, or this particular industry news piece. And especially when you go industry sector as well, that's really cool. Yeah. So, yeah, that's digital PR in a nutshell, but it's something that even more seasoned SEOs than I am and are all suggesting is the right route forward. I think Rand Fishkin, specifically from Moz, former Moz at Spark Toro now, he's a pusher of digital PR and digital PR agencies, and it's about establishing that digital footprint, and it all resolves around network science, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think, I don't know if you know her, you probably do, because she talks about that topic a lot, is Carrie Rose.
Yeah, I know Carrie. Yeah, I know reasonably. Okay, yeah.
That's how I discovered that subject a few months ago, or even more. But I find it very interesting. Is there a way for a brand that maybe cannot afford an external agency to dip their toes into SEO plus digital PR, like using their own data and stuff, or is it too difficult without?
It's the reason why you can't do it, and this is why there are some very talented PRs who are trying to do digital PR. There are some very talented digital PRs who are in agencies and struggling. And the reason why that is because digital PR is like a compounding benefit. The more relationships you build with journalists, the more relationships you have, the more relationships you can go and access again. The more staff you have doing that, the more collective power in the agency there is. So digital PR for me is something you can't really do in-house. And it's very tough for agencies to start their own digital PR departments, because unless you get enough work in, you're not generating, and enough work of a certain kind, you're not generating those relationships that you can keep tapping up. SEO, I actually see SEO as being more an in-house thing in the future. So, as brand search becomes more powerful, you're going to want the SEO inside your office, saying, okay, what did we search for last month? What's trending? That's the difference. Looking at keyword data in a different way. I use a tool called My Telescope, and that takes Google search data that's been last month's search data into this month's, and what you end up with is you're able to see what people have been searching for from a brand respect, which is incredibly valuable, because you can see results of lifetime promotions to see how they're feeding through into the search metrics. What are people typing into Google about your brand? So I think from I can see SEOs being the person that you hire to say, right, go and hire me a digital PR team, which they do now anyway at the higher level. Also, SEOs are going to be reporting on, okay, marketing effectiveness. What's going on in search engines? What are people searching for us about? Oh, look, you found out they're searching for discount coupon codes are relating to us. That's increased. Let's go and make some deals with some coupon sites. And you can do that kind of thing. So SEO, I think, will go in-house. Digital PR, very difficult to in-house.
That makes sense.
Something to just to go back on a bit, when you are writing content, so let's say launching a website for a client, and the client says, we want to have some kind of SEO consideration for this, rather than go through and say, okay, this is the page where you talk about let's say you're a digital product agency. So rather than try and find out your focus keyword for that page, say digital product agency London, and shoehorn that in there as many times as you can, is that still the correct approach? Or should it just be, look, write what we are and what we do in a way that makes sense semantically, and that will get us a good portion of the way there? Do you still need to go through every page, assigning a focus keyword and doing all that kind of work?
Okay, so I'm just going to say be SEO right now and say it depends. I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot to unpack there in relation to your brand, who you want to serve, who you seek to serve, how you want them to find you, do you want them to find you. A classic example is the video software Veed. I don't know if you've come across them.
Yeah.
So their growth, they didn't hire an SEO agency; they figured it out themselves. And what they did was they took their tool and basically pulled it apart and created what I call single feature landing pages. If you want to, it was all the things. Now, no one had told them to do that. They just figured that out intuitively, and that drove tons of traffic and over the years. And so every business needs to have a unique SEO strategy, and that's hard. And it's hard because a lot of the times now, you'll end up with businesses that have got legacy SEO strategies and legacy websites who have been built on past versions of Google, and you can't keep throwing money at new websites all the time, because it just becomes ridiculously expensive and full of risk, especially if a site's ranking position 1 to 3 for keywords, and they want to go after more, or they're on the first page and they've just been knocked off a little bit. And so I think every business needs more strategy, and I think that's one thing I think is missing from the SEO industry, where SEO is a very inexperienced industry. I was looking at an agency, a couple of agencies the other day, and their staff, their most experienced staff, have 5 years experience in. And I was looking at another agency who've turned over most of their staff in their SEO department in the last 16 months. And, that's not good for SEO. That's not good for clients. Where's the strategy? Where's the ability to link it to marketing science and marketing effectiveness? You won't get that. But it doesn't really matter if you're unaware. And if clients are sold to, heavily sold, what you end up with is this SEO service that's just rammed at people. Whereas what we should have is good SEO strategy. Let's take our time on the SEO strategy. Let's adapt. Let's be a bit more fluid. And I think that's missing, but I think that's also missing because the experience in the sector is going out, which is also a big problem, because anyone any good, or most of the really good people, are going freelance and figuring it out for themselves. And there's a huge skill loss of the SEO world, where people are leaving businesses and going freelance. And I even heard the word fractional SEO manager the other day. I've never heard that before, and it was like, okay, that's interesting. So you're working on a couple of companies, and which is probably more profitable for them anyway than a normal salary. So, I think the SEO industry has fundamental problems facing its future, both from AI, lack of experience, agencies themselves, and that's not great for clients trying to negotiate that.
Yeah, so the typical package that you will get, 4 articles a month, 100 links, and whatever, 20 journalists emailed, is not necessarily the right way to be going.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not anymore. Those days are finished.
Yeah. You mentioned, I had a question on alignment of SEO with the overall business and / marketing strategy. Have you seen what would be like the best example of this somewhere that you could maybe describe?
Do you know, I write a LinkedIn newsletter every weekend. It's called Growth Through Content, and there's loads of examples of fantastic SEO strategies on there, and it's free. You can read everything without subscribing anyway.
Nice.
And we've got about 17,500 subscribers, I think, now. And
Nice.
one thing I always go back to compare the market, because I think compare the market was such a great marketing playful stop that it's got everything from the fair, the software giveaways, and generally speaking, their actual SEO is really good. They rank for so much. They've got international SEO on they've got different websites internationally. They've created pages which are long form that answer the concerns of anybody. But also, I think there's a real danger in when you speak to businesses and brands is to go too elitist in terms of they expect everyone to automatically know. And, why would a website put what is insurance on an insurance website? Or why do I need insurance? That's because there are legitimately people out there who don't pay for insurance. And, there are people out there who drive without insurance, and their partner has said, you need to get insurance, and they haven't got it. I don't need insurance. And they go on their website and they see, this is why you need insurance. It's obvious, but they can't articulate it. There are people of varying degrees of intelligence out there, and sometimes we need to start back at the basics with every page. And it does have to be a bit SEO, and people hate having to do this, and that's not right for every sector. But if you're serving generalist everybody's, then that's the important thing. You have to do it for that. But yeah, Compare the Meerkat, I think, is a really good one for people to look at.
Back to basics, or covering those basic piece of content, is still something that is worthwhile doing. Why do I need a marketing agency? What is a marketing agency? The top 5 marketing agencies in London, all that kind of thing.
So sometimes it is, because it depends what your strategy is for business and who your client you're going after. If you're and sometimes you need that stuff to rank, sometimes you don't. That's the truth behind it. And to be honest with you, I'd argue if you're a marketing agency, being ranked for number 1 marketing agency is not the tactic for you, because it's a really poor tactic. This is, by the way, I'll tell you a little secret here. Most SEO agencies don't get any work from ranking for SEO agency.
Yeah, interesting.
They get nothing but terrible clients, because people don't choose SEO agencies through rankings. They choose them through their other marketing, and it's a little dirty secret of the industry that everyone spends thousands or have done until they learn it, and then you end up. It's just one of the things. Do I think that? If you think about it, do I think that a leading brand would go online and search for SEO agency like this? They wouldn't, would they? It's just not the way it happens. They find them through the awards. They find them at Brighton SEO. They find them at other places. I think it's business dependent on whether you choose to go down the route of SEO. I think for some people it's incredibly lucrative, but SEO doesn't just have to be about search rankings. It can be about your own website, and I'm a big fan of the believer of be found through search once, be searched for twice. And I'm waiting for the dream client who just says, Andy, just make me the best website possible with all the best content. I don't care if it gets traffic or not. And that is the dream client, because that's what you should be aiming to do, to create a website that people spend time on, enjoy. And when they do that, what happens is they remember it, and you get all that mental availability, and they think about you, and they sign up for your email list, and they come back and forth, and that's what you want. Do I care about the rankings? The rankings just pull some traffic from your website. The actual ability to have an incredible website is far more powerful than actually ranking on search engines, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And just before you joined the call, we were talking about, I was telling you, I read an article the other day, I think it was on Vice maybe, and it was about this lady who runs a web shop, and she has two versions of her site, because she has the version which she wants to make with the branded kind of descriptions of her content, the tongue-in-cheek stuff, but she also has the version that she knows she has to have to capitalize on search intent, and it's all the descriptions are vastly different. And it sounds, it kind of rings true of what you're saying there.
And that's it, And the other thing is, people do not have any loyalty to websites they find on search engines. They literally, they are after some information. They're after finding something. They look at you. They judge you harshly, and I think SEO needs to be appropriately weighed. I think it's a fantastic way to win extra business. But that's what it's about. It's about winning extra business, and it's a competitive advantage. And because if you're spending thousands a month on PPC, what SEO does is allows you to capture extra market share, and then you can reduce your PPC spend, and then you can use that to fuel other activities. So it's a competitive advantage. It shouldn't be seen as the be all and end all to any business's marketing. And as it was Brian Dean from Backlinko fame and Exploding Topics who said to me on a call once, he said, "You are not responsible for the success or failure of a business's marketing when you're involved in the SEO." And I think that's the most powerful thing going, because some businesses will say, look at the SEO as their entire marketing, and that's just not appropriate. Marketing costs money, it costs effort, it costs money to creativity, and we need business owners and businesses full stop need to give it the respect that it deserves, but then we also need to promote it better perhaps than we do.
That's a good answer.
I don't know if you know Lenny from Lenny's podcast, Andy, but he has, as part of Reforge, I think they've put together this kind of growth framework, which is it's basically a racing car, and it's the different areas of the racing car, how you build a growth engine, growth strategy. Anyway, the growth engine at the heart of it is typically two things. So you'd typically have like SEO and paid media, for instance, or you'd have SEO and PR, something like that. And it's interesting that if you look at the fastest growing companies in the last 10 years, they've always had two channels as their kind of leading channels. And I don't think anything in that example, just to your point there, or very few of them, were built purely off the back of just an SEO strategy alone.
Exactly, and it can't be, because that's just not the way marketing works, and however we make it. The other thing is, you can go to an SEO, you can have an SEO budget of £20,000 a month, and you think that's a really good budget, but you've got to bear in mind, if you've never been heard of before and you're trying to be ranking insurance or gambling or something like that, it's a drop in the ocean, and that's the truth, and everyone wants to hack marketing, but unfortunately it does cost money, and that's just the way it is. So
yeah, that's true. I think might be a good segue into what I wanted to ask you is, for a young company, a startup, what would be the triggers or the signals that would be making you say, like, now we need to start SEO or SEO effort? How early do you start, or what signals do you have to look into to start?
If this is the problem we've got in terms of steps. So let's take my SEO head off. Let's just say I become CMO somewhere in some distant galaxy, and or maybe that's in the future, who knows. But as a CMO, the first thing is you need to be a little bit like Tony Stark in the Avengers and assemble your team. And part of that team should be an SEO or a marketing manager who understands SEO, or an assistant that understands SEO that can help you. And then you have all the other specialists and the other different roles, and you get the ideas on how we're going to do, how are we going to disrupt, how are we going to get our attention, how are we going to do this? Where does SEO come into this? Is it feasible? Is it financially feasible? Do we care about ranking? Okay, well, how much is it going to need? Should we do it now? Should we not do it now? And that person, I think definitely marketers who invest in SEO skills will save businesses a fortune if they understand how SEO works, because you bring any SEO into a business who can understand brand marketing effectiveness, and what they're going to do is they're going to save you a small fortune and waste from picking the right agency and things like that. And that might be the next evolution, that we see SEOs who are seasoned go in house to actually manage SEO being done as an activity, and rather than actually, and that does go on now, but they do, it's more a case of SEO managers hiring link building than actually all the rest of it. But I think you've got to have your team around you if you're the CMO, and you've got to have the people that have got the skills. You've got to listen to them, and I think depending on business models, when you depend on you start for that, and also how you start it. So, for example, I would argue that if I was in a business, I would say the first thing we need to do is come up with some great creative advertising, and we need to come out with some good publicity, and then let's listen. Let's listen to what the search traffic's about. Let's listen to what people are asking about us. So and if we aren't able to generate questions or brand questions, then our marketing efforts aren't cutting through the noise, and then we've got to reestablish that before we go into SEO. So the SEO for me for a brand might initially be, okay, well, what are people asking about us? And let's build out from brand search downwards, and you've still got to do the basics like brand SERP and things like that, and okay, well, what answers do the community look at, and what are they asking? And then, okay, we can figure out what else they're going on, and create things outwards rather than try and rank for 1 million keywords to generate traffic that may or may not be useful. What do the people want? And you can do that through quantitative and qualitative research. So, for example, it may come back that your customers and your brand customers are looking for a newsletter. They really want something that they can read about this niche every week, and it's a fringe thing, and they want something really good. Well, then straight away, then that becomes something different, because you're marketing the newsletter, but also your SEO campaign might be, actually, we've got this really great weekly newsletter. We need to build traffic and rank things so we get subscribers. That's the SEO strategy. Rank for millions of different keywords to convert to people to the newsletter. The newsletter converts to people to get people on here, and that might be a very good SEO strategy. But it's about building out from the start sensibly and ethically. The problem is now, as businesses turn to SEO, and it's right, where's my results? I want my results straight away, and there isn't any of this. Okay, well, let's have a look at how we're doing things. And we just want to rank and gain traffic and conversion because somebody up above them is demanding this performance. And that's where I think new startups can have incredible success with the newsletter model, with SEO to newsletter model. But there might be other things. We were working with a company the other day, and they came back to us, and we did some analysis of their search traffic, their search noise, and they'd had like a 1,400% increase in searches around us. Is this company legit? Okay, well, that's weird. In a month. So we went back to them and said, well, what's going on here? Okay, well, first of all, we identified there was lots of things with the website that could be fixed to make that better seen. And secondly, they told us they've just started, the sales team has started sending messages out to an old telephone list, SMS messages to an old telephone list. Well, straight away, we can now use that data to say, okay, well, we need to make that message we're sending out better, because we've just literally messaged people we've not spoken to in years, and they don't know if we'll exactly. Now, I don't know for certain, but I would imagine that feeds back into the Google algorithm as saying, well, is this company legit? And it's not a good search term to have, because it might affect their EAT scores. Who knows? But but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of benefit can be had by listening to brand chatter rather than going after keywords necessarily, and then building a comprehensive SEO strategy that's logical rather than just traffic based.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it, definitely. Just to that point about kind of trust and brand trust, something that Yo was talking about the other day on LinkedIn. How important is it to have a focus on a review site? So whether it's Trustpilot or Reviews.io, does that still feed into the algorithms in terms of, is it worth spending time?
It depends. It depends who you ask. I mean, ultimately, do I think it's effective to have reviews from people? Yeah. So, and I think we need to make smart marketing decisions. SEO is really my number one lesson I got taught very, very long ago about SEO is do what real businesses do. And is social proof a big thing for businesses? Of course.
Yeah.
So let's go gather it. I've no doubt the algorithm picks up on that. I mean, if you read about network science, talking about nodes and the network and things like that. So if you can get reviews off people, that's just fantastic. And and do that. And and we all know that if you're landing on a website with 4,000 positive Trustpilot reviews, you're more likely to buy than somebody who's got like one. It's the old eBay store rules, isn't it? How many seller things. I think things like that are sensible to do as well.
Maybe we can pivot a bit into kind of the career side of things, because I think, Andy, it's really interesting the pivot that you made, at least from just reading about it. I haven't spoken to you about it previously, obviously, from your old career to your current career. And it seems a bit of a common theme with a lot of the people we speak to on here, me and you included, that we didn't leave school or uni, whatever, and decide that we want to go into the world of marketing. It's just something that we kind of went this weird route into. And maybe you can talk a bit about your experience there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a case. I was a police officer for 20 years. I've started late. I joined marketing at 36 years of age. So I used to work in police intelligence, which is where we worked on a police search engine, and it's essentially the same rules applied. I left that department on the promotion wagon and just ended up gravitating to websites and building them, and got some traffic, and ended up on I got an interview on BBC Radio 2 over something I'd been writing about, and on the Jeremy Vine show, like 8 million listeners. And I was like, how did you find me? I said, well, we found you off Google. I was like, what? And so after that, I was kind of, I need to figure this out. So if my $7 a month GoDaddy WYSIWYG website can get me exposed to 8.6 or something million people, there's something in this. And to be honest with you, that's where it started. So I started doing websites. I had successes, failures, built some from friends, built some review sites that I'm notoriously bad at keeping one thing going. And I like, I'll do this, I'll do this next month, and I had some successes, built up some websites and got some great social media stuff, started doing viral social videos for people, and myself, and just messing around. And then I got really bad asthma. So I left the police and they medically retired me. And I sort of walked out the police station on like a Friday, and then by Tuesday I had my full-time business up and running. I'd won like a load of clients, and I was charging like 250 quid a month and things like that for social media management. It was just typical freelancer stuff. And then I just got better and better, and opened doors, paid for a lot of courses, spent a lot of money on courses over the years, and joined many premium communities, and that's where I won some business. And then started learning more, getting more success, and had failed successes again, like you do, and then end up where I am now. So it's been an interesting time. Yeah.
And at what point did you decide, when you were doing all the early marketing stuff, that SEO focus was? I mean, I'm assuming that your first love now is SEO. You're obviously still a marketing guy, but is that fair to say?
I mean, I don't really have I'll be honest with you, my love is effectiveness in terms of whatever works, and whatever. Marketing for me is about making change happen. So it's whatever makes the change happen. If the change is people want to get more sales and not pay Google on ads, then obviously that's for a lot of the point where SEO growth is. And also SEO growth can achieve an awful lot. You can get big email list, you can convert that into sales, you can get today's buyers and things like that. And so for me, there was an overwhelming benefit in SEO. The day that changes, the day I leave and pivot into something else that's working. I'm a big fan of behavioral science. I love social media. I love YouTube and stuff, and I see the benefits. And I see the benefits of being able to pull those channels all together. I mean, I did 20 million video views once, something like for people, and I love SEO now, and I still enjoy SEO. But it's a frustrating industry, and it's getting more frustrating. I'm very fascinated with the digital PR space, which is why I'm in a business like that. But I think now the future of SEO is in being more brand focused than less traffic focused. That's for me anyway.
You don't got to spend too long on Twitter before you suddenly start seeing people that, the side hustle, or the guys that are like, I've got 6 50k MRR businesses, and I just launched my 7th one, and 3 days later I've had 100,000 traffic to the website.
Yeah, but I mean, most of that's nonsense, isn't it?
It's rubbish.
You know,
It's absolute rubbish.
So there's somebody I follow, and I follow him, and I shouldn't do it because it triggers me all the time. And like, what did I read the other day? And he said they started in, like, I think it was. They started an SEO content agency, and I think in 6 months, basically, they're now at £1 million. Well, then that's at 80,000 monthly recurring revenue per retainer. I mean, if you've ever worked at a big agency or with big clients, I mean, that's a lot of money coming in, and you do that with like a team of 6 or 10 or something like that. You just can't do it. You've got the accounting, you've got the calls, you've got the reporting sessions, you've got the content, you've got the link, you've got all that kind of stuff. And I look at stuff and say, okay, I get it. You want to sell this dream to people, and that's making you some money, so you keep selling this dream. There's a lot of unscrupulous people out there in marketing, and who ultimately, you know, and hats off to them. There'll be a tiny few that are doing that a real success, and hats off to them, brilliant. I also have a question where they pay the tax is something that really matters to me in terms of, great, you're offshoring yourself at 10% tax, fantastic. I'm paying a lot more than you, and so you're not living in reality. What you're doing is creating this thing. And the other thing is, you know, making money versus making a brand is very different. You know, if they've got 6 businesses, why don't they just concentrate on one and make it big and make it a brand? Why do they have to have 6 businesses? You know, and don't get me wrong, I get the logical, if you can do one business successful and make another business, they have 6 businesses. All right, but why can't you make one of those really big? You know, what's going wrong there and stuff?
They know they're all flash in the pan businesses. That's why they're all built off the back of some AI wrapper, and they're all doing the same thing with a different logo that they got off Fiverr. Them and 2 virtual assistants.
Exactly, and eventually it falls down. I mean, I'm old enough to used to buy things off Warrior Forum and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, we've talked about Warrior Forum before.
Yeah, so I mean, and also there's JV Zoo and things like that. And what you end up with is sometimes a great software that lasts a very short period of time, but it doesn't have the infrastructure to compound it. And they have a massive launch, and same with a lot of AppSumo products. I've been on AppSumo for years, and I brought many products, and then all of a sudden it dies a death, and or gets acquired, and something becomes part of something else. So there's a lot of illusions out there, and I think for marketers and I get triggered just like anyone else. I think, oh crikey, you know, that's amazing. What's up with me? And I think you know, so I think you have to put a bit of realism into things and understand the mechanics of business, prevent people from growing like that, unless, of course, that it's unless, of course, you know, they just want to acquire some customers and then get acquired or something like that. There's a few that succeed, but you just have to treat most of it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, definitely. Do you still frequent Warrior Forums? It does still exist.
No, it does still exist. I haven't been on there in years, and you know, but I can't help but love the coffee they write some great sales pages out there, and I'm such a sucker for them. You know, I believe it. You just hope that it's out there. But there's some people. There's some people doing really well with some really great businesses that are just doing really well. But unfortunately, I forget his name now. There's a fantastic book about strategy, and it'll say fast growth businesses stop growing because the growth mechanisms that got them to fast growth don't take him any further, and that's the reality of it. So you stay at 1 million subscribers and you lose 20 a month, and you try and get 20 back and things like that, or whatever the metrics are, and these businesses reach a certain level of saturation, but they can't get beyond that without either significant investment or significant marketing. And I think that's a lot of what goes on in terms of, and when you actually look at it, yes, they're 7-figure businesses, but they're not 7-figure turnover, and that doesn't make them attractive enough to go get extra investment. So
true.
Yeah,
nice.
Very good point. And just lastly, because we're kind of going up against time here, but your following on LinkedIn is pretty impressive. That's just putting in the hard yards over time, I guess, and putting out content that people enjoy.
To be honest with you, I mean, LinkedIn's something that it's more I put my thoughts out there. I can game the system and get more views if I want to. I mean, everyone does, but I'm more interested in putting out content that gives people options for thinking differently than actually gaining 100,000, 150,000 followers. I mean, that might... People say, oh, wow, why did you get more followers and things? Because you can do. And I post stuff today that's got hardly any likes, and and it's not because it's just something I thought, oh, I want to say this today, and as long as and I get people following me and things like that, and I'll do that, and then ultimately I just enjoy doing it. And then I took a load of posts and created a book called The Value of SEO, and that's on Amazon. Get the printed version, not the ebook, because the ebook's awful. But
Nice.
and I think, for anybody, there's a lot of fast growth accounts on LinkedIn, and it's relatively easy. I could go and make up a big, massive story and tell it on LinkedIn, and it'd be completely false, and people will be like, "Wow, that's amazing!" Get tons of likes and things like that, but it'd be a false, And I've got the kind of following that I could go and say, "Look, this is how we grew this business to a gazillion pounds," and I can't name them because it's an NDA, and put these magic screenshots that people put in there. And the reality is that's not me. I'm trying to do it honestly and ethically, and just put my thoughts out in the world. And as much as my wife might hate me for not being rich, at least I'm honest.
And you're playing this is a long game. It's a long game. There's a lot of short-termism as well in the hustling of content creation and stuff. We spoke about this once, but there's even on TikTok, there's kids out there who pretends to talk on a podcast, but the podcast doesn't exist. They just have a fake mic and they pretend to have the content to do the clips. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And do you know what's funny about these things is that so because I'm 44 now, and I started late in marketing, so I'm relatively think I'm doing all right. But I think I'm worried about what's going to happen at age 50. And where am I going to be at age 55? And unless you build real concrete skills, those great. You've built this software business or something like that, and you exit and you buy a house, and then you start another one or whatever it is that people's plans are. But unless you build concrete, employable, repeatable skills, then you've got problems and especially in this AI era where things are going to be replaced quite easily, and we don't know what's going to happen. I think for me, it's been able to understand subjects in depth, and that's not at a superficial level. And I have a saying, you can be in marketing for 20 years, or SEO for 20 years for that matter, and repeat 1 year 20 times. Or you can have 20 years of SEO and marketing experience, and that's the same downwards. There's a lot of people with SEO experience of 5 years who've repeated 1 year five times, and there's a lot of people in marketing who are exactly the same. So I think it's finding something you love, enjoying it, reading about it, enjoy the journey, not so much worry about being this super sensation big name, and then and just enjoying life, and it's all part of it. Marketing's fun. When it ceases to be fun, I'll get out of it.
That's a great
conclusion.
I love that.
It's making me worry how many years I've repeated in the last 10.
Listen, we've all repeated years. Hey, we've all done it. We've all done it. It's just a case of you try the old Rocky saying, how you can repeating the years and keep moving forward. That's the important bit, isn't it? And
exactly.
And it's especially with COVID as well, that caused a bit of a blip for everybody, and I think we're still on the echo chamber at that a little bit, on the quake of it. So, but I mean, my view to everyone is just enjoy the marketing game and try not to compare yourself to others.
Yeah, it's definitely a good outlook for life for sure.
Cool.
Nice one.
Love it. Well, thank you, Andrew. I don't want to keep you too much longer. But
thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the invite.
It was lovely to meet you, Andy.
We always get feedback whenever there's an episode with kind of lots of intense knowledge bits in it, and that we've had people say, I have to stop. I can't listen to this on my run anymore because I have to keep stopping and taking notes. And I think this is probably one of those episodes.
Let me know what people say. I'd love to hear it.
I will do. There we go, man.
We did it. Another one. That was great. That was good. I learned a few bits for sure. It got me thinking. I don't spend enough time looking at the search console and see what people search to find us, and
I think that'd be, because I was thinking when he was saying that's cool when you have enough people that are doing that, but I would imagine for nude, forgot the name for a second, there's gonna be a lot of people saying that, is nude worthwhile, etc.
Is nude legit, or I wanted to ask him what he thought about our name, and if he thought it was
That's a good question.
something that slows us down that we can play against. I think I kind of know what he would have said, so that's fine. The downside of this is because of our name, some people, their browsers will block the term nude, depending on their restrictions they put on their own browser, because they will think it's explicit. And it would definitely come up if it's the first time in middle of explicit results. So that's bothering me a little bit. But then there's like all the non-branded keywords that we rank for that I think we can do a lot more of, like on the just financial services spectrum.
For fun, I just searched nude in Google, and I'll read you the answers. I won't read you the answers. I'll just read you the URLs in order: X videos, Pornhub, X hamster, the fappening, YouPorn, XXX.com, celeb.nude, getnude.com.
So we're page 1.